Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. Although not exactly within the general ambit of sort of the, bailiwick of this channel, it is worth noting this, as the title suggests, this trades payments issue. I'm going to go ahead and quote. The reason I thought of making this video is I was reading a recent article in the Bangkok Post, bangkokpost.com. Article is titled, Banks Eye Yuan-Baht Trade Payments. Quoting directly, the Bank of Thailand is in discussions with China's central bank over supporting the use of Yuan-Baht settlement to mitigate foreign exchange risk amid ongoing U.S. dollar volatility. According to central bank governor Setaput Sutiwartanaru Iput, excuse me on the transliteration there, the Bank of Thailand and the People's Bank of China have held talks over additional cooperation to encourage businesses to use Yuan-Baht settlement for trade between the two countries. The Bank of Thailand plans to meet its Chinese counterpart next month to talk about the issue. So a couple of things going on here before everybody sort of flips out. And I know there's a lot of hyperbole sort of all over YouTube on the topic of de-dollarization and all of this stuff. This is one of those things that I've been thinking about for years, honestly, over a decade now, because it's something that was just an economic inevitability. And on the one hand, let's be clear, again, quoting directly, the Bank of Thailand plans to meet its Chinese counterpart. Haven't done it yet. Nothing's been locked in. As discussed by folks that I really listen to out there in sort of the ether of the internet, podcast land, whatever you want to call it, this is going to take a while. This is not just going to happen overnight that people are going to stop using the dollar. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Meanwhile, and I think there's a Western preoccupation, at least in thinking about these events, wherein it's sort of viewed in kind of the context or the frame of a zero-sum game, where in reality, I would argue it's not a zero-sum game. What I mean to say is, look, Western supply chains and the Western, sort of the Western-centric economic system, if you will, is going to, I think, in my opinion, years from now, arguably decades from now, when people look back on this era and sort of see and there are going to be issues, as the head of the Federal Reserve in the United States, Jay Powell, has said, there will be issues associated with, well, he said the word pain, in fact, regarding stuff having to do with the U.S. domestic economy. Set that aside. Yeah, there's going to be a time of transition that for certain people is not going to be a great time. But I think when we get down the road and look back, one will see that, look, these developments, while not something I'm sure that U.S.-based or Western-based economic thinkers are going to be overly in love with, the fact of the matter is, again, going back to zero-sum versus non-zero-sum, it's probably better to look at this whole thing from any perspective as stop looking at who gets what size piece of the pie and start looking at the fact the pie itself is about to get a whole lot bigger as we're watching the integration of the economies of Eurasia. And I mean that specifically. The entire continent of Eurasia is starting to be knit together. We're at the opening phase of this, if you want, right here, sitting here in 2023. And then over the course of the coming years, and it's happening pretty rapidly, especially up on sort of central Eurasia in the middle of the continent, it's happening rather quickly in terms of trade and infrastructure development. What we're seeing here, perhaps it's better to look at this from the perspective of, look, the whole pie is going to get bigger. And yes, the relative size of, for example, the Western supply chains, if you will, might be smaller in comparison to other players, if you will, in the global economy. But as the overall pie expands, the relative position, I mean, there may be instances where in certain jurisdictions, people don't even really notice, because while these changes are occurring, more economic activity is occurring And as a result, and it's economic activity that's never occurred before, as a result, for certain actors, it's just sort of a net nothing. It just all kind of comes out in the wash. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I don't really look at it as a zero-sum game. I look at it as the entire pie is getting bigger rather than how big a piece of a pie do I have. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And we'll keep you updated on this channel as the situation evolves.